So I bought this little surfboard to sit my ass on when it starts to hurt. Whoosh. I feel a little better. Okay, so I'm leaving another recovery house. It's funny, I've done a couple of these today. Man, I'll tell you, like, I don't ever really think about my sobriety or how far I've come or the story, but when I come to a place like this and I see people detoxing and on meds and they're going through, withdrawals, or I can just see some of them, just the look on their face, because, these people are suffering, man. That's the one thing that, I have to remind myself of when I, because I get fucking annoyed in my neighborhood with just the shit that I see every day. It gets pretty annoying, and but you have to, when I see people, and males, females, it just, I don't know, man, it just sucks seeing. Am I on the right path? Okay. Yeah. It just sucks seeing people, they don't know. They've got this look on their face, like some of them just, they're nervous. They're living in a recovery center, a co-ed one with different floors, and it's just like, man, it's like, I really wish that I could get plugged into speaking at some of these to give people hope, because I was looking for whatever I could find, or somebody that I could relate to with. You just want your message, especially one that ends great, like I just think back to, like, the amount of people that I have shared my sober story with from the time I started doing YouTube till now, in so many different countries. And don't get me wrong, I wish I had the reach of Joe Rogan or some of these other dorks, but I've done what I can, with what I got, and I don't know, it's just, it's a bittersweet feeling, it's like when you've made it, but it's almost like you've got no one to really share that with, or know what you're talking about, because I don't really have friends in the sober community, because I don't go, I don't really go out, and I got a couple friends at the gym that are sober, but we don't sit around and fucking talk philosophy and the 12 steps, or, we're all living our life. Some of us are, further along in our journeys than others, and some of us are, it is what it is, but I just, I don't know, man, it's just frustrating seeing people, not frustrating, it just kind of hurts, that you see people, and, and I guess that's really what Jesus, did when he died on the cross, was he put himself there because he knew what needed to be done, and the way he must have felt looking upon us in order to, fulfill the will of God. It's just, I don't know, it's just a heavy thing to ponder, or just, I don't know, you just, sometimes I go into these places and I see like a young girl, and you just, they just, I don't know, it's like people are just looking for someone to say, listen, you can do this shit, okay? This shit is doable. This isn't a fairy tale. People make it. I remember when I used to think about sobriety, I used to think people were full of shit for the most part. You know what I mean? I don't know where this guy's going, sorry. I got you. I got one over on you. I don't know, I just feel, you know, it's just sad sometimes, man, when I, you know, people don't know what they don't know, and people that are lost, they're fucking lost, man. You know, there was a time in my life where I thought I knew a thing or two and I didn't know shit. And then when I started this journey, I didn't know how this was all going to shake out, you know. I just know God put me in jail, and I was in jail one day for nothing. But I had realized that, you know, the Holy Spirit was communicating with me, and that this was part of the plan, you know, like I can't tell you how many times I've seen God knock on the door of people's lives and them just not either pretend or just not want to get it or whatever. And, you know, it's just like one guy was saying, you know, well, this is how this ends, you know, addiction. It ends in, you know, it usually ends in death. It starts with a slow, you know, speed, like avalanche, and it ends bad, man. And that's why I don't fuck around with this shit. You know, like I don't fuck around. I was driving with this one girl from the gym. I forget I think I was helping her unload her storage space, and she was going to give me $100 or something. But she grabbed her purse and like threw it at me, and I could hear like the pills in it. You know what I mean? Like I could hear the pills, and it was open just enough. And I'm like trying not to. I'm like putting it where, and I can see the orange for the pill bottles. It's like Satan just going, well, if we can just separate her from these, we can look inside. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And that's what he does. He whispers in your ear. He's a little bitch. He'll whisper in your ear and go, just look inside there. I'm sure, listen, she's giving you $100, but, you know, she should probably be giving you more. So just take a couple of these and call it even. It's no big deal. It's not like you're going to be going back to buying them. You know, she's got that many, you know, like I'm just like, I'm not entertaining this, you know, you resist the devil and he'll flee from you, you know. But that's the little voice in my head, you know, that's the little voice in my head. You know, my first big paycheck here, I was thinking in my head, like, you know, it just came across that little TV in your brain. It was like, I could afford to get some drugs this weekend, you know, and just do a Saturday, Sunday tour of, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck what are you even, you don't even know anybody that's, we're going to go get arrested to go buy drugs. Get the fuck out of here. You know, I isolate myself on purpose, you know, God has given me the grace to really, with my animals, and my animals really, you know, my animals really are, like, when they talk about, like, service animals, my animals, service, you know, if I, you know, I can't tell you the amount of times when you're by yourself, it's harder to tell people that don't have a family. There's not a lot of people, maybe only people that have been in jail, but there's not a lot of people that can go, I don't have anybody I could talk to, or you know, a lot of people live near their parents, and a lot of people live near their family. They can just go drive over there and go, oh, you know, like I used to when I was younger, when I used to go visit my grandma, you know. You know, my animals are that, you know, they're my family, you know, and they give me just enough bullshit to do and meaning and purpose in my life to take my mind off of the minutia. And, you know, if I was lonely, I don't really feel that lonely, because there's always, every time I want to, like, take a break, I always got an animal that comes over to me to tell me, you know, my dog will come over and tell me that he hasn't had enough fucking chicken, you know, or my mama bear will come over and just start rubbing on me, and I'll be like, come on, man, you know, sometimes I gotta go, man, will you guys just get the fuck away from me for 5 minutes? But you know, there is hope. You know, it does get better. People do recover. It doesn't look like it, though, when you're on day 2. You know, you just think, God, it'd be so much easier just to get high. But it's not sustainable. If I could grow opium, okay? If my family was like the Marlboro family, the William Morris, whatever, or whatever their name is about the tobacco, if my family was growing opium like they grew tobacco, yeah, you could do what you needed to do to sustain this shit. But damn, bro, he's gonna turn right in front of me like that? Fuck. It's just not sustainable, you know? Sobriety is way more sustainable.